Hi everybody, I hope you can hear me. This is September 19th, 2024, and it's my video update on my journal to recover from the trauma of having the British Columbia New Democratic Party government lock up my little brother, Paul Kierans, 64 with Down syndrome, for 588 days, and then have him die alone with no one who understood his speech. So I've just been in court. Just before my brother died, my sister delivered a court application to have me declared a vexatious litigant, which means that you can't bring any court action or take any steps. It's very serious. I practiced law from 1991 until 2014. I was a federal prosecutor for 3 years, so there's no way it will be my legacy that I've been declared a vexatious litigant. I just fought to visit with my brother and to help him as best I could. So just by way of anyway, so I was just in court for about an hour preparing. There's going to be a 5-day hearing on November 18th, and it'll be my application to visit Paul, which was before the court at the time that he died. It had been adjourned from December 19th over and over and over again, and it never got on. He died before it could be heard. So I just wanted to be able to visit him. And their application to have me declared a vexatious litigant. And the issue today was my sister had 2 lawyers there, 2 law firms. She just hired a new law firm. She just hired a new law firm in Vancouver, Ladner or something. But anyways, so some kind of federal connection there. I think the federal government is sticking its fingers in this pie right now. But I may be wrong. But anyway, so she's got a law firm in Ottawa, a law firm in Vancouver. And so the issue was whether or not my application to visit Paul was moot. Moot means there's no point. You remember the Friends episode where Joey said something was a moo point because even cows wouldn't care about it, so it was a moo point. Anyways, so I said, well, all I want to do is argue my application to visit my brother. If they want to say it's moot, they can stand up and say it's moot, but there's nothing before the court right now that says it's moot. There's not one word that's been filed with the court. And so what they wanted to do was have a whole separate hearing on October 4th about whether or not I couldn't go ahead because it was a moot point, because Paul was dead. And I said, this case has great presidential impact because of my sister's decision. She isolated and confined Paul against his will from his last surviving family member, me, for 588 days. And the trend in guardianship reform across North America is not to permit guardians to isolate and confine incapable adults from their other loved ones, which they often do, as in this case, out of spite and retaliation. I've been telling you guys that it's based on Peter Falk's law in the United States, where Peter Falk, the Columbo actor in the Columbo detective series, had a stroke in his 70s, and his second wife wouldn't let his adult children visit him. And they were so distressed that they started the Peter Falk Foundation to change adult guardianship laws across the United States so that guardians or conservators or representatives cannot isolate and confine incapable adults from their other loved ones, which they often do out of spite or retaliation or to settle money scores, which is what happened here. My sister was just isolated Paul out of spite. She's an evil person. Evil. Anyways, so the main issue this morning that was argued was whether there's going to be a separate hearing on mootness on October 4th, and I won that point. So it's the first point that I've ever won in all of this litigation. I've never had one single break. And so there will not be a separate hearing on October 4th, that everything's going to take place on over 5 days on November 15th. It's just cruelty, just salt in the wounds. They're just horrible, horrible people. Anyways, so as I was leaving court, I thought, well, should I go to McDonald's? Usually I go to McDonald's on the way home. But I thought, I have to report to you guys are my client. The whole world is my client, because I want to change the law so that guardians cannot isolate and confine incapable adults against their will without actual tangible evidence that it's in their best interest. And there was no evidence in this case. And as I was coming here, I noticed there was a full moon in the sky. And I always think of when I miss my dad, I look at the sun and I think of my dad. And when I miss my mom, I look at the moon and I think, and this morning at like 7 o'clock in the morning on the SkyTrain, there was a full moon. And I thought it was my mom shining down on me. And I had a big picture of Paul with me that I showed the judge, and I held that up. And I felt that Paul was there in the courtroom with me. So I feel it was a very productive morning. I just felt like, I don't know, I could speak like I used to be able to speak. My heart was breaking, I could feel my heart breaking when I was talking. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me, is this being isolated from, I'm used to people dying, everybody, and lots of people in my family have died. But for my little brother to be isolated away from me, and for me to be so nearby, sitting out in the hallway and not be allowed to visit him, and have my evil nun sister tell his hospital care staff that I was a troublemaker. I mean, just evil. Anyways, I could feel Paul there with me in the courtroom. And I thought I had to come and tell you guys that I survived. And I have to go back to court. I have to go back to court on October 4th to get a decision. I had asked that my affidavit on one issue be sealed, which means they don't get to see it. So the judge is going to deliver his decision on that. So, anyways, what I wanted to say is, as I was walking into McDonald's, I could feel a tear coming down from one eye. And I told you guys that I have never been able to cry over this. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I've never been able to cry one tear for Paul. I've been so traumatized, like a little kid, so terrified and traumatized I couldn't even cry. And I knew that it would be a sign that I was recovering from the trauma when I could cry. So I had one tear today. So that means I'm on the road to recovery. And hopefully I'm going to change the law so that no other substitute decision maker will ever be able to hurt an incapable adult the way the nun hurt Paul. So that's it for now. Take care, everybody.